Welcome into the live stream here from McCready and Siskey, powered by Rain Total Body Fuel. I'm Neal. That is Tyler.
28 days.
28 days? How
28 days.
You doing okay?
28 days. 28 days.
Feeling okay?
My teleprompter is broken.
Oh, I need to fix your teleprompter.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Can you fix my teleprompter?
Oh, yeah.
28 days.
No wonder you seemed burdened. I want to unburden you.
Here we go. And they're off. What it is. How we doing, sir?
How are you?
I'm actually doing good, man. It's a beautiful day outside.
My friends at Southern Q Sauce, by the way, want to know what is your favorite meat to smoke, and they are going to send you something accordingly.
No diddy.
Right.
It is going to be, man, I don't know.
You can only smoke one thing.
I don't know. I like baby back ribs.
Okay.
I like the beef tenderloin I did the other day was amazing.
Yeah.
And the other one that's really good that I don't think a lot of people do smoke is the chuck roast.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And I hammered I was really pleased with my beef tenderloin this past week. It was just perfecto. It was really good. Really good.
Did you sear it at the end?
I did not. I straight smoked it. So I trimmed it,
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually had it in two sections. I took the whole tenderloin, and then it comes in the package, a little bit extra meat,
Mm-hmm.
And I marinated it for 30 minutes. And then I put it on the smoker for 225. It took right at 3 hours, but I waited until the internal temp was 140.
Oh.
I pulled it off and wrapped it and let it rest. And then, dude, it was fantismo.
Okay.
It was good.
All right.
Really good.
Interesting.
So.
All right. Well, I will tell them. I'll tell them ribs and beef, and then maybe they'll send you.
That's good.
Some things.
I can tell you what it's not. It's not the chicken. Your boy has not got the chicken part figured out yet. I am in like
half chicken, you mean?
Like anything chicken. I have ruined everything I've attempted to smoke related to chicken.
Oh.
No, I am not any good.
Oh yeah. Well,
I mean, it's kind of like playing Vandy. They get me. It's not any good.
by the way, shout out to my friend Matt Moscona.
Great.
AFR, LSU, Louisiana, LouisianaSports.net.
I don't know if he'll see this, but tip of the cap. That shit was funny.
I interviewed Matt earlier today for an MPW digital program later in the week, and he was great. But I knew that Matt has gotten a lot of mileage out of his bit about Alabama, and you do the bit, and after a while, people steer, and they don't realize they don't realize it's a bit.
They don't.
And they just go. And so after a while, you're like, you know what? I'm going to steer further into the bit. And then Saturday happened, and he had a blast. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you watch it. It was fantastic. Hilarious. I laughed for 14 minutes. It was great.
I do a bit when we do the lives. Okay. It never fails. T-Guns is in here. T-Guns is on a bunch of the lives. When we do the TikTok lives, it never fails, Neal. It's at least once every 2 days. Sometimes it's every day. The conversation, somebody will ask a question about NIL and all this stuff, and I will, with a straight face on the lives, I will say, this never was a problem before NIL. That's like, players, a lot of people think that players got paid before NIL, and that's like an old wives' tale. It didn't happen, and it never fails. There's somebody new on there, and they lose their mind, and I just let them go for a little bit. Yep. I'll be like, hey, welcome to chat. I know this is your first live. You can tell who's next. They will. It's just, they don't get the bit. It's great.
They don't get it. All right, let's roll.
Let's do it.
Welcome into episode 218 of McCready and Siskey, powered by Rain Total Body Fuel. I am Neal McCready. That is Tyler Siskey here on this Tuesday. Turn the page Tuesday.
28 days.
28 days till. Well, it's been interesting. It's been interesting. I know you're doing your bit.
Yes, that was a bit.
But it's funny today. I have a little conspiracy theory that's working in my head.
Those are not hard to come by these days.
This is a different one. I actually think Joe Biden is attempting to sabotage her campaign.
Really?
I'm starting to think Joe Biden is attempting to sabotage her campaign. She was on The View this morning, she being Kamala Harris.
Oh, I'm fixing to add to your conspiracy if I think what you're about to say is about to say.
The Vice President of the United States was on The View this morning with the ladies of The View. And there's a hurricane in the Gulf. What's it called? Hurricane Milton. Milton. By the way, if you're in the Tampa area,
please,
man, you guys are in our thoughts. You're in our prayers. I know it's a mess. Be safe. Get out if you can, but be safe. But anyway, let me get to this.
Yeah, we'll do that later.
Yeah, let me get to this. So they're asking her about this report that she attempted to call Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, to help, see if they needed help. And DeSantis, his claim on, I think he was on Fox and Friends this morning, was that I don't know whether she tried to call or not. We've been busy. We were braced for Helene. You got to give DeSantis this. DeSantis is really good at
crisis management.
He's very good at crisis management in his state. He just can't deny that. He's really good at it. And he's like, hey, we were ahead on Helene. We've been 24/7 cleaning up after Helene, helping people get back together.
He single-handedly saved the labor strike.
And he's like, and now we're watching this. We're busy.
Right.
I don't have time. And he said, look, in 3.5 years, he said, as governor of Florida, I've dealt with the Trump administration. I've dealt with the Biden administration. He goes, I've been in contact with the president, referring to President Biden. And he said, we're good. He goes, she's not even in the chain of command on this. He goes, she's reaching out. I'm quoting him. I'm not giving an opinion. Yeah. She's reaching out because she's trying to parachute in politically. He goes, I don't have time for that. Obviously, sides are going to agree and disagree, right?
Right.
But Biden this morning, in front of cameras, is asked about, hey, have you been in contact with DeSantis? And he said, yes, the governor's doing a great job. We've been in contact. Let them know, we're here to help. Anything they need, et cetera, et cetera. And then he said, he's done such a good job that I gave him my personal phone number. And I'm like, you guys don't like each other, do you? This thing, 4 weeks from the election, you're not doing her any favors. And at some point you go, this is intentional. Like you got cooed out of this. And now you're on your way out the door. And it's almost, look, I think he doesn't want Trump to win so bad that at the end of the day, he wants her to win. But I don't think he wants her to win.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's like,
this is like me watching the Cardinals and the Brewers play in the National League Championship Series.
That's a great example.
And I'm like the Brewers start to win, and I'm like, okay, I hate the Cardinals so much. And then I'm like, yeah, but I hate the Brewers too. And then the Brewers start to win, and I'm like, oh, no. I really hate the Cardinals. Like, I can't deal with this Cardinals World Series thing, right? It's kind of like that. And he's not doing her any favors. I'll put it that way.
I'm going to add to your conspiracy here. Did you watch 60 Minutes this weekend?
I've seen clips of it. We were going to watch it last night, and we got distracted and ended up missing it. But I have watched a good bit of it to see that it was a long interview that they had to chop up into like 13 minutes. Credit to Bill Whitaker, the reporter.
Man,
look, he's old school now, and he asked her questions. And at one point, he stopped her and he said, "Forgive me." I'm paraphrasing. Forgive me, Madam Vice President, but that's not what I asked. I asked, how are you going to pay for it?
Yeah.
And she couldn't answer it. He asked her a question about who's our enemy, and she said Iran. And No, there was a lot there. It was not
it wasn't the softball that you were expecting. I guess is my point.
It wasn't,
and that has been a recent.
Wasn't a Who's My Daddy
and that's a recent kind of.
No, there's something going on with all of it. I mean,
he asked about
I'll tell you my
democracy and not being elected. And,
I'll tell you my theory on that. People want us to do football. I know that. This is interesting though.
28 days.
My theory on this is that some of these networks, CNN, CBS, others, are looking at the landscape and going, you know what? Our ratings suck. They're plummeting. We're getting a lot of mileage off an election because networks get a lot of mileage off elections. When this election's over, we've got to think about our survivability. And if we don't have at least a shred of credibility at the end of this election cycle, by the time the next election cycle rolls around, we might not have any at all. And so that I do think you're seeing some survival kick in at a handful of places.
Wouldn't be surprised at all.
We're brought to you, if I can find it, each and every podcast by our good friends at Reign Total Body Fuel, 300 milligrams of natural caffeine, BCAAs, electrolytes, zero sugar. It's got what you need to push the limits and achieve your goals. Check them out on Instagram at Reign Body Fuel to learn more.
Neal, the Cooper Chevrolet chat is already bumping, and to remind everybody, at Cooper Chevrolet, they have incredible savings. The Car Bravo, Alabama, they have incredible savings that are continuing for a few weeks more. Where else can you get 1.9% APR or $500 down payment assistance on a certified used Toyota, Chevy, Hyundai, Buick, and more? This all comes with free extra benefits and upgrades. Make sure you give our friends at Cooper Chevrolet a call, area code 256-236-4481, 256-236-4481. Neal, we're also brought to you by our good friend Brandon and all the guys at PTG and ladies at PTG Outdoors. They are a Caymas boats dealer. They have both fresh and saltwater boats. They sell and service Mercury outboards. They do custom marine electronic installations with Garmin, Humminbird, and Lowrance products. You can get all of your fishing needs and custom golf cart retrofits where they replace all of the batteries with a single lithium battery. Matter of fact, Brandon sent me a text of somebody that got somebody from the show that had the lithium battery getting put in for their golf cart retrofit. Appreciate you there, guys, for supporting this show. Locations in Grenada, Mississippi. Go to the online store if you're on TikTok, Twitter, wherever you're listening to us today. Get all of your fishing and hunting needs at ptgoutdoors.com. They will send it right to your front door.
Also want to let you guys know we have one of our advertisers at MPW Digital, Southern Q Sauce. They make craft barbecue sauce. They also make a variety of rubs. They have a deal for you guys. Go to their site, southernqsauce.com. Use the discount code MPW15. That's MPW15. Get 15% off your order. Check them out. I've been using their rubs. They've got Old Smoky, Honey Pecan, the Clucker, the Longhorn. They're going to get some to Tyler. He's going to use some on some of his next cooks on his Traeger. So I'm sure he'll bring some of that to you on video and stuff. They've got their sauces as well. They've got a hot. They've got a regular. Check them out, southernqsauce.com. I'll put that in the thread as well. Just give them a look. Go to their site. Check them out. MPW15 for 15% off your order.
Hey, T-Guns in the Cooper Chevrolet chat says, what happened on The View? You left us hanging.
Oh, well, on The View, the vice president was saying that DeSantis wouldn't take her call because he was playing politics.
Oh,
and
I got you.
You see what I'm saying? So that
I'm with you.
What's interesting is that Biden's put in a weird spot, as Doors Rule said in the thing. Biden's, it's understood that DeSantis does a really good job. That you're governor of Florida. You better know how to handle storms, right? You're going to get storms. You better know how to handle them. He does. He's really good at it. And, Biden wasn't going to insult DeSantis there because, but he could have said nothing. He didn't have to say, he's doing such a great job that I gave him my personal number on the same day that she's attacking him for playing political football with the hurricane. It made her look inept.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I got you.
I mean, he could have just kind of said nothing and moved on and been like, so how about those Chiefs? I mean, he could have just, hey, let me have a senior moment here, right? Where's my pudding? He didn't do that. Instead, he kind of went above and beyond in complimenting the governor. I thought it was interesting. That's all.
Yeah. All right. On to football. Today, news today. I guess I'm going to quote this under shocked, yet not shocked at the same time. The New York Jets have fired Robert Saleh after a 2-3 start, citing expectations. 3.5 years. So this is his 4th season. Yeah, I guess shocked, not shocked is probably the way that I feel about it. Surprised they did it in the NFL with the team that they have. After the first 5 games, there's other 2 and 3 teams that are talented and worse in this league right now.
They went all in on Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers apparently doesn't like him. It's pretty obvious they don't like one another. And it's okay. What's the easier person to replace 5 games into the season, the coach or the quarterback? And the answer in this case is the coach.
I agree, but he's a defensive guy. He's not calling the plays.
Right. It doesn't mean it's going to work. It just tells you that, like I said yesterday, find any locker room and you're going to have shit going on in that locker room. And when the losses come with the stuff, everything starts to smell worse. And so here you go. I mean, like you, I was like, oh, really? Kind of early, but okay.
I think it opens the door for other potential moves, as we get into the season. I think there's other guys kind of like in his situation, but I mean, I think they still have a good team. They got the makings of a good team. They haven't been. They've had a couple of injuries at the wrong time. They've been kind of anemic on offense. And again, the head coach, he's a defensive guy in the NFL. He's not calling any plays. So, but I did see the relation. You saw the relationship stuff on the sideline, which is very odd and peculiar. So I don't know. Just weird that citing expectations 5 games into an NFL season. That's a season's not even close to. You're 2-3. Well, so are the 49ers. What are the Bengals? 1-4? Or are they 2-3?
I don't want to talk about it.
But you know what I'm saying? There's good teams that have record issues, I guess is the right way to say it. I mean, there's all kinds of, I don't know, just weird for me. I don't know, a little different for me, but we'll see. All right, last night, Monday Night Football, Scoops. The Chiefs defeated the Saints 26-13 in one of the most blah games, NFL games of the year, just from a football perspective. I was really hoping for a really good game. I felt like I was excited to watch this game, and maybe I was just too excited to watch the game. Felt thoroughly disappointed. Saints have dropped their 3rd in a row. They're also 2-3 after starting off 2-0. And this was one of those games. It was a 3-point game until late. And even though it was a 3-point game, in no way, shape, or form did you watch that game and go, oh, the Saints have a chance to win this game. The Chiefs completely dominated them. They hit a corner post for a touchdown. The Saints did for a big play, but the Saints got dominated on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Every time the Chiefs got the ball, in order for the Saints to stop them, they had to screw it up. They missed a field goal. They threw a batted ball. A drop ball gets picked in the end zone. It was never the Saints really just stopped them. When the Saints were able to create pressure in the pocket, Mahomes was a magician. Mahomes moved better in the pocket last night than you've seen him look in a long time. I mean, you couldn't sack the guy. His pocket awareness and pocket presence is elite. And if you give that guy time, he's going to find dudes. And then the guys he was finding, they were wide ass open. And so it was just a complete domination. I mean, that game felt like the Chiefs won by 40 points. It was wild. It was weird. So with that being said, Neal, the Neal McCready / Kimmel McCready / all proxies went 5-6 on the week. Lost a unit.
Yeah.
I went 6-5, gained a unit. So that puts Neal and his proxies going into week number, I think it's 6 or 7 of the season. Neal is 21-38-2, minus 14.35 units. I'm 30-29-2 plus 1.45 units, and I have a 15.8 unit lead heading into this week.
Yeah, you're not digging out of that. That's over.
I dug out of a double-digit unit lead last year.
Yeah, I'm not.
You can.
No.
You gotta will it into existence.
NBA preseason started last night. It's not happening. I mean, It's not happening. I had far more interest in how Jalen Williams and Cason Wallace would handle the backcourt with that Shea and Lou than I did anything that happened in the National Football League.
You know what's funny about you and I in basketball? I don't know if you can find two polar opposite people with basketball interest.
Like, you are a religious college basketball.
I will watch 100 because it's because of Criteria Club. I will 100% be locked in to like the Manhattan Jaspers versus whoever on a Friday night on the ESPN app when some local AM radio guy's on the call for ESPN on the app.
Oh yeah.
And then you could say, hey Tyler, hey, check this out tonight. I know you're watching. I know you got Manhattan versus IUPI, but let me tell you something. Tonight we got the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oh, worse than that.
Hosting.
Oh, that's good. But like, I'll be like,
hosting
you know
the Lakers.
What?
I'm like, nah, I'm good.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, so Wizards, Raptors? Yeah, sure, why not? And then after that, it's like, hey, there's a 9:00 game, Kings, Blazers. No, I'll watch a little. Yeah, that's me. And then people lose their minds about NBA stuff, man. NBA is like the most polarizing topic among among college football fans. They hate the NBA and don't understand why you like it. They think that I love this one. I've gotten this one a bunch. You just like the NBA because you're a liberal.
Oh.
I'm like, me?
Hi, I'm Neal McCready.
Wait. Me? A liberal?
Is that really a thing?
Oh, yeah.
I've never heard that.
Oh, I get that one. Yeah. You only like.
Will you please point that out the next time somebody says that?
Yeah. I'll send you the email.
Please.
Because I'll get it.
Please. That could be great.
It's fantastic.
That's great podcast material.
It's probably. Here's probably something I've done it because I don't want to violate people's privacy, right? If you send me an email,
he sent you an email to bitch about the NBA.
Yeah,
so
but if you did it,
if you
send me an email, it's just you're sending it to one person. There's a part of me sometimes that wished I had saved emails and published them and written about them.
Yeah.
But it would have made me would have made me more of a colossal prick. And so I didn't do it. I've never done it. Because I view that as
like sourcing, burning sources kind of stuff?
No. I just view it as you're sending me something privately.
Gotcha. All right, if somebody tweets at you.
Oh, no, that's fair game.
Please bring that to my attention, please.
But when people do I always love this one. They don't play defense in the NBA. I'm like, just tell me you don't watch the NBA. So I got to tell me, you don't watch it. That's you just told me. Tell me you don't watch it without telling me you don't watch it.
I think I've said that.
Because if you don't guard in the NBA, every game will look like the All-Star game. Like when you see the All-Star game,
I'm a hand-raised guy myself.
Yeah. When you watch the All-Star game, I'm like, they're not guarding. Right. Nobody's guarding anybody, and that's what it looks like because they literally could score 300 points a night. Everybody go to an NBA game.
They don't miss.
Go to an NBA game an hour early. And just watch some of the guys do when they're doing their individual workouts before they get going.
Yeah.
They don't miss. Like dudes who never shoot threes, ever, will stand out there and go 19 of 20 against air from three. And then the dudes who are like pretty good NBA shooters, they won't hit rim. I mean, it's just nets. You're like, this is unbelievable. Like if you don't guard those people, no, they'll score 1,000 points.
I remember, we'll get to football, just back to football in a second. I remember when I was at Auburn, right? And we had messed around, and that was before everybody got anal about everybody getting hurt all the time, before we got all soft about, you can't do this and that. When people wasn't worried about injuries all the damn time, we play intramural basketball, okay? Shit like that. So I remember we would go pick up, in the off season, we'd play pickup games. And I remember one of our hung out with us. Auburn had a basketball player. You were covering Auburn at the time. You may remember his name, Adrian Chiliest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Chill was like on game days on TV couldn't score. He was like the Dennis Rodman of SEC basketball. Played really good defense, rebounded, hustle guy, effort guy. But like you were scared to death watching on TV.
But he'd go for 75 against the Kappa Sigs.
Dog, you go out there and we just pick up. I mean, and this is good athletes versus good athletes. Dude didn't miss. Dude would go out there and just, choo. Just never missed a shot.
Yeah.
And then I remember that. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, dog, why don't you do that on back then it was Wednesdays and Saturdays. I was like, this guy wouldn't miss.
because the other cats on Wednesdays and Saturdays
pretty good too. Yeah,
players too.
And then I come to when we got to Ole Miss. This would have been in 2000 and was that 12 we got here? 2012.
Yeah.
And we would play pickup basketball as a coaching staff. We play after the season, we play pickup basketball to recruiting. Well, basketball season's going on. We go over to the Tui Center, and Andy, AK, would let us play, before practice, especially on game day. We'd on one of their courts. So we go up there, we play, and during lunch or whatever. And I remember Ole Miss, I guess, had a game that night. It must have been a Wednesday. And Marshall Henderson, this is when he was playing.
Yeah.
Marshall Henderson, I guess, had come over for his shoot around or whatever in between classes. Neal, I'm not shitting you. I sat there and watched that dude while we were waiting on everybody to get there. This dude was with one assistant, and he was getting shots up. I don't think this guy missed a shot for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, probably not.
I'm not talking about, oh, yeah, he missed.
No,
I don't think this dude missed a shot.
Yeah.
For like 30 minutes. I know at one time, I got tired of counting. I know at one time I got like 34 consecutive shots. And I'm not talking about like, oh, the rim was kind. I'm talking about didn't even smell the rim.
Yeah. No, I was listening to Andrew Schlecht does a Thunder podcast that I listen to a good bit. And late last season, one of the storylines with the Thunder was they traded for Gordon Hayward, and they were like, why is he not playing? And he's like, I don't know, but I can tell you this. It's not because he can't shoot. I was watching him at shoot around at the facility, and he's just out there just draining shots. I mean, not even focused on it. Just let it go in. It just,
they're crazy.
Anyway.
All right. I want to get to this news this morning. Georgia wide receiver, now it's on your phone. Georgia wide receiver Colbie Young was arrested early this morning on misdemeanor charges of battery and assault of an unborn child. There have been a few details emerge from this, and I know I sent them to Neal on his phone so he can read them because he's much more eloquent at reading than I am. He's a better storyteller.
Georgia wide receiver Colbie Young's Tuesday arrest has been made public by Athens Clarke County Police. The reporting officer states that he met with the female victim, who identified Young as her ex-boyfriend, at a different location than where the incident occurred. The victim stated that around midnight, she went to Young's apartment for 20 minutes and was there to speak with him about their relationship status. Per the report, the victim said the conversation started to, quote, turn into a heated argument after she found out that he was on the phone with another woman, end quote. And the victim claimed that there had been infidelity in the relationship. Per the report, the victim said that Young grabbed her left arm near her bicep and tricep and physically pulled her out of the room. The victim also stated that Young was, quote, using derogatory terms and being demeaning to her, end quote, and that he then went back into his room, shut the door, and locked it. The victim told the reporting officer that she began to gather her things and that a friend called her on the phone. When she answered it, Young, quote, came out and grabbed her from behind, end quote. The victim said that Young picked her up and began to squeeze her torso and abdomen very hard. The reporting officer surveyed the victim's injury and found that, quote, she had a bruise and discoloration on the bottom right side of her chest where it meets the abdomen. She also had redness on her right flank.
What does that mean?
Flank?
Right side?
Yeah,
right here?
Your side. That's your flank. The report stated that no injuries were noted on the arm where she said Young grabbed her. Photos were taken of the aforementioned injuries. The reporting officer called EMS to come evaluate the victim's injuries. She declined to be transported, blah, blah, blah. Per the report, Young invited the reporting officer inside and initially told the officer nothing happened with the victim. Upon further discussion, Young said that the victim came over invited, and that they were going to talk about their relationship. Young told the officer that the argument got heated, at which point Young escorted her to the door. He denied ever grabbing her. However, the reporting officer wrote, I found probable cause based on the totality of the circumstances, along with physical evidence of injury to the victim. I told Young that he could grab some things to take with him, but he was going to come with us. I asked him to place his hands behind his back and told him he was under arrest. He was booked at 418 as of 9:25 this morning. He was incarcerated still. Young was charged with battery and assault on an unborn child. The reporting officer requested a special condition of bond due to the victim expressing some concerns about mental abuse in the past that has now escalated to alleged physical abuse. She also told me that she was scared of Young and that he owns a firearm.
Yeah, a few thoughts here is one, I had to ask T Guns this because I know T Guns would know. He's in the chat today. How is that a I mean, he explained. I was confused on how that would be a misdemeanor. And T Gun said it was state laws. State laws classify. It's up to the lawmakers basically. State laws are different in every state. So
Correct.
that answered that question because I was like, damn, that sounds kind of rough to be a misdemeanor. And I've been trying to think about how to say this. I think when it comes to this stuff, and this is probably advice for all coaches and athletic departments, is let the evidence work, let the police do their job before, because there's a lot of pressure with fandom and social media and all that stuff to rush to judgment. You should make sure that you got all the facts and then punish accordingly after that. I have been and the reason I say that is if he's found guilty, absolutely drop the hammer. I have just personally.
What do you do in the interim? Do you play him during the interim?
I think I don't think there's a blanket answer on that. I think I don't know the facts. I don't know anything that I'm sure they know more than I do. If I would probably lean on not playing the individual.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention names, obviously, or schools. I've had instances in 3 different schools I've been employed at. Okay, that this has come up in all 3 instances. The player was basically suspended immediately. All right, in 2 of the cases, and I will say this: 2 of them occurred not a long time ago, but 10 plus years ago. And both cases, one young man was immediately dismissed from the team. Okay. Immediately dismissed from the team. Not ironically, but in all 3 cases, it was over a breakup or a relationship that was coming to an end in all 3 cases. The first kid was dismissed from the team completely and then went to jail. The whole deal, was left in jail, the whole deal. Come to find out, he wasn't even in the same location, even statewide. It was a cheating thing, and she said, "I'll ruin your life," and she did. He was proven after a year, missed basically a whole year of his career. He came back, finished his career after that. Another instance of infidelity, I guess, in a relationship. A young man was dismissed. Found out 6 months later that was not the case, and it completely ruined his career. I think he would have been an NFL player. It completely ruined his deal. He has since, that young man is playing in some arena CFL stuff, XFL stuff, but has not been in the NFL because of it. And then another one, we knew based on the information that we had that it was probably a made-up story. And so we not suspended. The public never knew about it. He was out because of injury, but he was really suspended. And we did not play him until we got concrete evidence that he was innocent. Now, if he's guilty, drop the hammer. I don't. That's different than
sure.
And everybody's going the Georgia stuff because of the car. This is different, in my opinion. This is different than driving fast down the road. I don't. When you're abusing women, and I mean that's what it comes down to. When you're abusing women, and I know we're doing the unborn child thing, but it didn't start like that. It started as abuse of a woman. When that I have no toleration for that at all. Even there's no.
Zero.
You don't give me. Nope. I don't give a shit what excuse you come up with.
Nope.
That's unexcusable. With that being said, also coaches and athletic departments aren't the police. They're not the district attorney. Let them do their job. Let the evidence work itself out, and then make a proper decision based on that. And if they are guilty and they are found to do that, then you drop the hammer and dismiss them. But you don't want somebody like that in your. That's not in the program.
No.
So,
no. I mean, if he picked her up and was violent with her, he no.
Yeah.
And I don't know this, so capital I, capital if, capital I, capital F, the word if, underlined, hyperlinked, everything, right? If he knew she was pregnant and was doing that,
oh, it's double whammy.
You're in the evil category now. I mean, something's up. Well, like you are sick.
That goes in my dealing with. Look, you deal with a lot of discipline things in college, and everybody likes to give me shit and all that stuff. I've seen a lot. Once you get over in this category right here, like there's a different mindset of a person that is driving fast down the road as to somebody who does this. Like you're saying, that is now we're in a whole different category of human being.
What people are doing with Georgia, fairly or not, is that they're starting to lump everything together and go, see, they've got this culture issue. Yeah. I can't sit here and tell you they don't. I don't know. I don't cover them. I'm not around them. I don't know. But I'll say this. If I'm Colbie today at practice, we're having a talk.
Well, I'm sure they've had probably before.
But we're having the talk where it's like, hey, fellas, we're hitting zero tolerance level here.
Yeah, well, I think they've been there. In my opinion, I think they're in the zero tolerance. They are guilty, and that's the thing. Is like I always encourage people, and like we do this a lot. The now you are right, wrong, or indifferent because of social media, and then especially when it bleeds over into sports, you're going to fandom and things like that. You are guilty until proven innocent. And then when you get proven innocent, if you get proven innocent, it doesn't get covered. But if he's guilty of this, then man, that's a whole different. That's no bueno. That's bad human. So, and it won't be. And I'll tell you this: Kirby's not going to tolerate that. I mean, it's not like this is. I mean, Kirby's a good dude. He feels the same way. I can 100% assure you that. But, it's just when you've been on the other end of it. And look, I was on the staff twice, and this is the only reason I say this. I was on a staff twice that we rushed to judgment unfairly to the individual, and then turned out to find out you feel really bad when you just somebody that you're supposed to be caring about, you just throw them in the trash can and they found out to be they're innocent. It sucks to be on the other end of that. So I always just let it play out. That's why you have district attorneys and police officers and judges and all that stuff. Let them go collect the evidence. Let them make a decision, and then you make your decision based off that. All right.
I won't dive into it, but there's a new story that just popped that Kamala's day is getting.
Oh, we'll save it to the end because
it's getting
I think we're
worse.
We're gonna have 10 minutes. I think at the end.
It's getting worse.
All right, save that for the end. I got 10 minutes for it. Jaheim Otis, Neal. Jaheim Otis, one of my favorite.
Yes.
One of my favorite. No joke. One of my favorite high school recruits in the state of Mississippi over the last few years. Went to Alabama, played for a few years, did great. Plans a red shirt.
Were you at Ole Miss or Alabama at the time?
I was at Ole Miss.
Okay.
But I know his high school coach very well. And then when I was doing with Quick U and all that stuff.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. And he's been a recruit since he was like 8th grade. I mean, this is a guy that he's one of those guys.
For a long time.
Yeah, long time. Mm-hmm. He was a baby when I was at Ole Miss. Maybe like a 10th grader, 9th grader, 10th grader, my last year. But he plans red shirt. He's going to hit the portal. Here's the thing. It's like everybody's like, oh, well, it's a system fit thing. He's more of a zero nose and an odd front. And when you go and you're playing a lot of even down front stuff, it's just that's why he's not playing as much. It has nothing to do what kind of player he is or what kind of person he is or anything like that. It's more of just a system. Kane likes to do more penetrating stuff instead of two-gapping stuff, things like that. And then when you find a system, a 3-4 system that uses that position, then he's going to be very valuable.
So you're saying that the people that are covering Ole Miss who are turning this into an automatic, he's coming to Ole Miss, look, might be jumping the gun?
Oh, probably not.
But Ole Miss doesn't run a 3. They run a 4-man.
It is a 3-man down. I understand. So I get asked this question a lot. All right. The differences in today's defense, okay? This is a very popular thing.
So who's running the zero gap for Ole Miss? Is that Nolan or is that Pegues?
It'd be Walter Nolan.
Okay.
And Pegues. Well, they both can, right? But
who's doing it primarily? You're saying Nolan's typically lined up over the center?
But they don't even – so I prefer a 3-4, and here's a 3-4. A 3-4 I'm going to try to explain this. I've actually gotten good where I can explain this Cliff Notes version. a 3-4 base, okay? It used to mean when you started going 3-4, 4-3, it used to really mean something. 4-2-5, those are the three that are real popular talking about right now. Okay, when you say 3-4, okay, once all the spread football came around like 10 years ago, everybody got away from regular personnel and went to nickel, okay? So nickel is 5 DBs.
Yeah.
All right, so what you did is in the 4-3, you took out one of those 3 and you made him a 5. Okay, in a 3-4, you took out one of the 4 and you made him a 5. And so some people even now get to where they call it a 3-3-5. It's all the same stuff now. The defenses are so similar.
That's why schools are recruiting so many safeties.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so the only real difference, because like a 3-4 will have the stand-up, okay, as the end. The difference between a 4-3, a 3-4, and a 4-2-5 is how do you play one person's technique on the end man of the line of scrimmage, okay? A true 3-4 has a 0 nose and 2 4 eyes, which means head up to the tackles, okay? And then you can slant move, and you have what they call a jack or a buck or whatever position you call it. All you have to do in a 3-4 is to make an even call, and they literally move 6 inches one way, and all of a sudden you're now a 4-3 front. Like 6 inches of movement turns into a 4-3 or a 4-2-5 front. So the reason I like 3-4 is because you can be more multiple. All right, Pete is the Alabama guy, right? So Pete, he can be a Pete Golding, who I'm talking about. He can make a 3-4 call and go to a 4-3 front by going even. And they go, move 6 inches one way. Now you're in a 4-3.
I got you. Okay.
All right, so it's not all these people like, oh, the 4-2-5. Guys, it's like once you go nickel, we're all playing the same shit, man. It's just a matter of how the technique that you're using up front. Are we two-gapping? And nobody really, even the 3-4 guys don't two-gap anymore. So people that know two-gapping is when you would get like the big, what's my guy, Davis, that was at Georgia, or what's our guy at Alabama that was like 700 pounds that made Terrence Cody.
Yeah.
Those guys would basically, they're lining up at a 0 nose. They are two-gapping the A-gap. So they're extending their arms, and they're playing the gap based on
both A-gaps.
Based on the play, and then the backer will fit off of him on the other gap.
Right.
That doesn't get played much anymore because people are so spread oriented. Okay, and so
offenses are so spread oriented. So you have 5, sometimes 6 DBs on the field, and so you don't
because the RPOs,
right,
and they're not running gap scheme as much, and so counter because so many people went to 3-4 fronts, because 3-4 fronts, it's harder to run inside zone against 3-4 than it is even. And so that's why everybody went to the odd front. All right. And so really it eliminates your gap scheme. So that's kind of why everybody went to that. So again, I think it's more of a system fit with what's going on now, but it's not going to be hard for him to find a home. He's a really good player. He's a big youngin. All right. Before we turn the page, I'm not going to go into a discussion on this. Don't want to, but I know we got to say something. I'm tired. Well, I'm tired of it. I'm not going into discussion. This is not for a discussion, but I just want everybody to know that I personally, this is all I'm going to say about it. I know it's not a coincidence that the SEC and the Big Ten are meeting in Nashville the same day that it's reported that the settlement for the House versus the NCAA has been preliminary approved. Just that's what I'm going to say about it. And it's also not a coincidence that other company released their plan last week because they also knew it was coming. I told you privately, they screwed it up by trying to get rid of the conferences. There's going to be new discussion that doesn't get rid of the conferences. And I've been talking about that particular meeting for over a year on the show. It's happening.
You have. I gave you credit this morning.
Did you?
MPW Digital.
Thank you.
I did.
Yeah, it's happening. I'm not going to talk about it. It's happening. There'll be plenty of time for that. All right, Neal, it's time for Turn the Page. Turn the page, Neal. Neal, turn the page.
Turn the page.
It's time to turn the page to a brand new week.
Brand new week.
Neal, we're going to turn the page.
28 days.
28 days.
28 days of page turning.
See, I never got that, though. That's why I was confused in asking you. I never can count. I know it's 4 weeks from the day. 4 times 7 is 28. But is it really 27?
Well,
how do you count the one?
4 weeks from right now, polls will be open still. So,
yes.
So it's technically 28
okay.
days.
All right. So
tomorrow it will be 27 days.
Okay. All right. I've always been confused on that. Thank you for clarifying. Neal, it's my favorite time of the year. Not yours, it's mine. Just like you're excited to watch the Grizzlies preseason games, this is my favorite time of the year because we are in Conference USA October.
Ooh.
For the month of October, all Conference USA conference games are going to be played on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays for the whole month of October. And we started off tonight with the FIU, the Fighting Mike McIntyres, traveling to Liberty to play undefeated Liberty Flames that have not been playing. They got their game against App State canceled because of the hurricane.
Right.
So they've had like a bunch of time off. Interested to see how that goes. A lot of my friends are coaching in this league, so Rich Rod and them are playing tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoy it. I know the casual fan doesn't. It's more of my personal relationships. I enjoy it. So I get to watch Mike Mack's team play tonight.
I'm not judging.
And I get to watch Jacksonville State play tomorrow night.
I'm not judging. When I'm watching that Pistons Heat game
in the preseason.
In preseason, when guys wearing number 88 are running out there on the court, I don't want to be judged. I want to be left alone. So yeah. I will not judge you watching Liberty and FIU.
I do. I'm a football guy. I will actually be watching playoff baseball, and it's my favorite time of the year because I can watch playoff baseball on one TV and watch football on another TV.
Yeah, I'm going to say this in all seriousness for a minute.
It's really good.
The playoff baseball stuff so far
it's been really good.
Has been elite, and I'm so jealous of the people whose teams are still in it because
me too.
Like that Detroit, I know. That Detroit Cleveland game yesterday was like it was 0-0 ninth inning, and that damn thing was scintillating. I mean, there was some drama in that deal. I mean, I was working and I had it on kind of in the corner. I was getting ready to go run. I was like, as soon as this is over, I'm going to go run. And it kept going. I'm running out of time to go run, but I didn't want to leave because it was only playoff baseball can be 0-0, and you're just like, this is amazing. And it was
You're pissed off in regular season, but playoff baseball, you're like,
yeah, it was
good stuff.
So good. And credit to them. I mean, nobody knows it because baseball's become a fringe sport. It really has. But wow, I mean, some of the pitching yesterday, and then the at bat where the dude hits the 3-run home run was drama. Like that is kudos. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. So the big games around. We got SEC games and the big games we always talk about on Turn the Page Tuesday. Starting off, South Carolina, the Gamecocks coming off a loss to Ole Miss, a very dominating loss to Ole Miss, are playing at Alabama. What
did Alabama do last week?
Alabama, I heard they struggled. What was the final score? I heard they struggled a little bit with Vandy last week.
40-35 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Alabama's at home against South Carolina.
All those snipers that were there for Trump a couple weeks ago, they might need to come back.
Wow.
I mean, now that you've gotten practice. Or if Trump left his bulletproof stuff, they ought to bring that down to the sideline.
Yeah. So, look, Alabama's favored by 21. This is going to be – it's kind of like – I think Alabama's in a similar position that Ole Miss was last week to where, you know, when Ole Miss came off that loss to Kentucky, and I get where it's Vandy's different, but if you have any nuts about yourself and you have aspirations of being a true title contender, there's a lot of shit that needs to be fixed. They're obviously just like Ole Miss was. They're obviously talented enough to fix those problems. I would actually expect a Alabama big win here at home against South Carolina.
Isn't this also, though, sort of a who are you game for South Carolina?
But I think we know who they are.
Okay.
You know, I don't think South Carolina has the dogs to do what they have to do. Now, they're good up front defensively, but what other position do they don't have the playmakers to go score and do those things. I think it's a get-right game for Alabama. I think that it's an 11 o'clock game too. You know, and I think Alabama, defensively, they were embarrassed. Your leader, your captain, acted like an ass clown on the field. I think there's just a lot of things there that if you have the character that place stands for, and look, we can say we want to. You and I both know the entire defensive staff there. They are good dudes, and they know how to coach, and I expect them to respond.
Yeah, I do too.
All right, Missouri coming off of an emasculating loss, and Texas A&M travels to UMass. It's 27.5. I don't know, man. I don't know. UMass is terrible, but it's the same kind of thing. Whatever.
Missouri,
it's a low number, though.
Missouri is so far off my radar now. I'm done with them.
Yeah.
Night. See you guys later.
Ain't no doubt. Texas 14.5 point favorites, and
it's a big number in this game.
The Cotton Bowl.
It's a big number in this game. This game gets weird sometimes. I know that there's blowouts and stuff, but man, Oklahoma's going to bring it. They're going to show.
I think Texas wins the game. Here's what you got. This is the unique stuff. Both coming off a bye week. Quinn Ewers is coming back. He's going to play this game. I don't know if it's been reported or not. He's going to play. But they're coming off bye week. He hasn't played in a while. Okay. He hasn't played in a while. There's going to be some rust there. This isn't Oklahoma is not a defense that you want to break out your toys on. You know what I mean? They're good.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with Oklahoma to watch for here. Okay. I really like this number. Oklahoma had a bye week. They got a lot of dudes. They're getting a lot of dudes back. When they went and played Auburn, they won, but they won, on pick 6. They were out their top 5 receivers and 2 starting offensive linemen. They're getting a lot of dudes back. I think this game's closer than the experts think. I actually like Oklahoma plus the points. You're giving me 14 and a hook in a rivalry game that's always close. Give me Oklahoma here in this game to take the points. I think Texas wins. Excuse me. All right, and a game I'm actually genuinely curious about. For many reasons. Penn State, this was one that looked really, really enticing a week ago. Penn State is traveling to USC. It's still a ranked matchup, but Penn State is traveling out to USC to take on the Trojans. Penn State is favored by 5.5 at USC. Penn State they do enough to win. They don't do it in dominating fashion. They don't ever look like when you watch them play, they win. Mm-hmm. They do their job. They chalk it up, but there's never a point in a game that you go, man, these dudes may shock the world, win the damn thing. With that being said, USC has now lost games. They're 0-2 in the Big Ten. They've lost games to Michigan and Minnesota, which both run the ball down your throat.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, serious question. Is Lincoln Riley in trouble if he starts the year off 0-3 in the Big Ten?
I mean, yeah, not like firing trouble, but yeah.
Well, you know how USC is now.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about. I know someone who covers them, so I can get them on and we can ask. But
I mean, they did leave a guy on the tarmac that's a pretty damn good football coach.
They did
after he started but lost 2, I think.
They're super invested in Riley. I think he's going to get a lot of time.
It could get weird if he starts the season 0-3 in the Big Ten.
And it might just be a deal where you can't win at USC the way that they want to win. It might just be that simple. I mean, people always tell me that's a cop-out answer. I'm like, I don't think it is. It might. And it's possible that he's overrated as a coach.
I think he's 5-8 in his last 13 games.
It's possible that in an era where you can't just stack a roster.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said 1-2. Who did they beat in the Big Ten? I said 0-2.
Wisconsin. They beat Wisconsin.
Oh, the bet was. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. I apologize. You're right. They beat Wisconsin. So you start out 1-3 in the Big Ten. It's still gonna get weird with losses to Minnesota. All right. In an ACC game, the only reason I put it on here is because this team could get interesting. It's about time everybody needs to start watching them because they're going to have something to say about it. The Cal Bears are traveling across the world to play Pitt at Pitt. Pitt is favored by 3. Pitt is undefeated.
Yeah, I knew that.
Pitt is 5-0. And a league that's down. They may end up being a team that you're going to have to know about. They're going to play a game that's going to get they continue to win. They're playing solid football. They're not great, but they're just playing extremely solid football. SEC, the Mississippi State Bulldogs are on the road at Georgia. Georgia is favored by 33. Big freaking number.
Just too big of a number.
Too big of a number. I like Mississippi State in the points here. You're basically telling me that. I mean, if Mississippi State can play Texas to a 7-6 halftime score, I think they keep this one close till they run out of gas.
I mean, Georgia's got Texas next week.
Yeah,
they're going. their minds are going to shift.
Yeah, I like Mississippi State and the points here.
I mean, Georgia's got Texas, open date, then Florida, Ole Miss, Tennessee in their next 4 games.
Yeah, they're going to try.
I mean, they might cover the line by default, but if Kirby's playing a bunch of dudes in the fourth quarter, he's lost his mind.
Yeah. I mean, just let's be serious here. What do they got to score one time? Mississippi State score one time?
They might have to get to 10 to cover.
Yeah.
But I like they're okay on offense. I mean, it's a young quarterback. They held their own against Texas for a little while. They'll
that's why I said
it's just a big number.
And the reason I like Mississippi State here too is where they're different than when you watch Mississippi State and then you turn around and watch Florida State. These kids are playing hard.
Yeah.
They played hard. They're not. They have every reason in the world to shut it down after the Blake Shapen injury, all that stuff.
Yeah, no,
they play hard.
They played hard for him in Austin.
So I like State and the points there. Florida is at Tennessee. Rivalry game. It used to be a really big rivalry. It's not so much anymore.
Yeah, it used to be huge.
I mean, it was the rivalry for a long time. It was. I told somebody the other day, Florida, Tennessee, me growing up, Florida and Tennessee was kind of like the LSU, Alabama rivalry now. You know what I mean? It was always the two. It was an Eastern Division matchup that it was going to be the top two. It always, I mean, for how many years in the 90s and the 2000s, early 2000s, did this game decide the Eastern Division?
I mean, several. It was the big game.
Yeah.
It was kind of that. It was LSU, Alabama before LSU, Alabama. I think this number's too big.
I do too. It's at 16 right now.
I think Tennessee wins, but Florida, we're doing this deal that we do in media where you go, here's the narrative, and the narrative's true, and then even when the narrative might start to not be true, no, it's still the narrative. They've played okay the last couple of games. Not great. They're not great. But they've played okay, and they haven't quit on him, and they look like they may have figured a couple of things out. I won't be surprised if this is an interesting game late. If we learn nothing from last week, like I know we do the jokes, and SEC Shorts did a phenomenal job. My God, it was brilliant. Tip of the cap.
Awesome.
Bravo. It was great. That being said, look what's happened the last 2 weeks. Kentucky beat Ole Miss. Arkansas beat Tennessee. Vanderbilt beat Alabama.
You have one undefeated team in the league right now.
Yeah, and they've played one league game.
And they haven't. And their biggest win is over
a mediocre Michigan team.
Right.
So we don't even really know what Texas is. We think we know what Texas is, but we don't know what Texas is. So the whole Tennessee as superpower that I was guilty of it too. Not really. Relax. Let's just wait and see.
Yeah. You know, and we can talk about it right now. You know, one thing I think, and somebody asked me about it today on the live, I think in the SEC particularly and in the Big Ten, and I think you're seeing it across the board, is I've always said this, it was one of my favorite exercises that Coach Saban said. It says your team is going to be good as 41 through 60 on your roster. Well, the portal, they're 41 through 60 are in the portal transferring. And you're left with basically a very small roster. Well, you can go across the SEC now. If you take everybody's roster, if you take the top, call them the top 30 players in the SEC on each roster, and you say, give me your 30 best, and you start ranking the 30 best players in every roster, there's a lot of similarities there. There's a lot of parity in that top 30, right? And you're not able to create the depth and issues needed there. And so I think that's, that was always the deal. When you were at South Alabama or Arkansas State, you would go play one of these SEC teams. Brother, we could line up 22 and play toe-to-toe with you sometimes. But it was that when those 22 couldn't go, there was a massive drop-off between the next guy in the game for us and the next guy in the game for them. And I think now with the portal, everything's kind of – all the backups are leaving and trying to go start at those places and start at other places, and that's where you've created the I don't even know if you – and I listen to Coach JB show every once in a while when I can, and he went on a rant the other day, and he's not wrong. We call it parity. Is it really parity, or have we turned college football into mediocrity? Because there's not a lot of great football being played by very many teams. All right, game of the week, in my opinion, that's a Big Ten game. The Ohio State Buckeyes. We're fixing to find out a lot about everybody right here. The Ohio State Buckeyes are 3-point favorites in Eugene, Oregon, against the Oregon Ducks. I've watched a lot of Oregon and watched a lot of Ohio State. This is a very interesting game. I think Ohio State, I made the joke today on the live. I said, Auburn fans, if you want to know what a average as grits quarterback that makes really good decisions looks like, watch Will Howard play. That's what an average of grits quarterback that makes good decisions, that's what he looks like.
Right.
Oregon is talented. Dylan Gabriel's kind of starting to figure it out. They have played better as the year has gone on. They're getting better. They're getting their stride. I just don't, when you watch them both play, though, there is a difference between Oregon and Ohio State. I think if this game was played in the parking lot in Des Moines, Iowa, I think Ohio State beats them by 2 touchdowns. The fact that it's being played in Eugene, at home, across the country, all that stuff, and they play well at Alton. They play great. I think this is a closer game. I still think Ohio State covers the spread here. Ohio State is really good. They're really good. They play with their food a little bit, but they're really good. They always seem to extend it in the second half. I think Ohio State not only wins, I think they cover. Just athlete for athlete, matchup for matchup. I think it's just too much for Oregon to overcome. All right, the Ole Miss Rebels, they are traveling at night to Baton Rouge at night. Ole Miss is a 3.5-point favorite against LSU. I would normally lock this game in right now. I'm going to wait and see if the line drops a little bit. I think Ole Miss covers in this game. I think when you look at the matchups, I think it's from a real game standpoint, and I don't count the 4 preseason games. I think it's the what gives Ole Miss problems. The things that have given Ole Miss problems, and they've got their share of it, is back-to-back games in the SEC. They've played really two really good teams up front on defensive line wise, and they haven't been able to protect Jackson Dart. A lot of balls thrown off his back foot, protecting himself, rush throws, those kind of things. When those first 4 games, when he can get his feet set in the pocket and he's protected, they look like damn world beaters in the passing game.
Yeah.
I think they will be able to protect him better this week, particularly with Perkins being done for the year and losing that threat of pass rush. I think they'll be able to protect him better. I think that's the weakness of LSU, is where they're at, is their depth up front. Now, LSU's coming off a bye week, yada, yada, yada. The matchup, though, if you look at Ole Miss's offense versus LSU's defense, I think Ole Miss has an advantage there. Ole Miss can be explosive. They just have been very inconsistent in SEC play. I think when Ole Miss gets 2 first downs and gets rolling on series, I bet they score every series they start with at least 2 first downs. I bet you they score this week. Watch for that when you're doing your little stuff.
Yeah, I just want to see whether Trey Harris plays. It's that simple.
When Trey Harris, let's talk about that. I would normally think that would be a bigger issue than it is this particular week. I would be more worried about it in the Kentucky game than I would be either last week or this week. I think it's more up front this week. I think Ole Miss rolls. When you look at LSU's offense, I think is really good. It's the best. The interesting thing for me is this is the best offense that Ole Miss has played.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially up front. But I think I really like the way Ole Miss is playing defense right here. I think Ole Miss covers this line. I think it's a 4 to 7 to 10-point win for Ole Miss on the road. Vanderbilt at Kentucky. Not touching this game because I don't know if Vandy is still their minds on Broadway right now with the goalposts going into the river. Kentucky's coming off a bye week. It's assignment football. Let me tell you what. I would be almost shocked if Vandy finds a way to after all that can show up, because boy, they have they're getting their mileage off of that. Rightfully so. But they haven't had this a whole lot at Vanderbilt, in the last 40 years. How do they respond to show up to play on the road in the league against a team coming off a bye week that's on a freaking mission?
Yeah, I just want to see. Sign me up for Diego Pavia.
Yeah, Diego Pavia is borderline, but
I mean, he's fun.
I'm not touching this game. 14, sure. I don't even know. I'm not even touching it.
It's a big number.
I'm not touching it. All right, the Iowa State Cyclones are going to West Virginia and playing. Iowa State is undefeated, ranked number 11 in the country. Iowa State's very solid. I encourage, if you haven't watched Iowa State, watch them. They're fun. They're a fun team to watch. Very good on defense. Got playmakers at receiver. Quarterback's really good. Garrett Green at West Virginia. West Virginia's a good team that has moments where they're figuring it out, and they play really well at times. not touching this. Tough place to play in Morgantown. I'm not touching this one, but I'm pulling for my Cyclones to cover that line. To me, it's like if Iowa State wins the game, they cover. If I don't think that it's basically West Virginia money line or Iowa State -3. It's not. I wouldn't ever take West Virginia to points. If I'm picking West Virginia to cover, I'm just going to take them to win. I don't think they cover and lose, if that makes sense. And then a game that I'm just letting everybody know, Neal, we may have us a special guest on Thursday.
Oh, yeah?
May have us a special guest. The Kansas State Wildcats are traveling to Boulder, Colorado.
Oh.
And due to the recent success of the Buffaloes against Central Florida, Kansas State's only a 3.5-point favorite in Boulder. So we may or may not have a guest showing up on Thursday.
Oh, interesting.
So for all you haters, y'all can suck it because he's booked. He's booked for Thursday. Booked. All right, Neal. NFL briefly, then I want to get to your deal that you said you didn't want, that you breaking news you want to talk about. Something was coming up on you there. NFL games this weekend. The 49ers are at the Seahawks Thursday night. They're 3.5-point favorites. The 49ers are 2-3. They're getting into must-win territory to get where they want to go as a team. They get beat by Arizona at home this past week and at 2-3. I think it's a must-win situation for the 49ers. They do not need to get off to a 2-4 start in the NFL. The Jaguars are traveling to the Bears. That is our London 8:30 tea and crumpets game in London. The Bears are favored by 2.5 points there. Will be an interesting game. I'll watch it. I like watching the Bears. I don't know. I mean, it's probably Caleb Williams, but they're a fun team to watch for me. And probably my favorite game of the week that I can't be more excited about, that I would not have written this down to start the year. The Washington Commanders are at the Baltimore Ravens. The Commanders are 4-1 heading into Week 6 with Jaden Daniels, and the Ravens are getting 6.5. Ravens are giving 6.5 points to the Commanders. I'll be all in. I'm sure Neal will watch that. That's right up his alley. We're watching that on Sunday.
I'm not over the Bengals loss yet.
You still hurt?
It still hurts.
Well, you're going to get a chance to get over it because they're on prime time. The Bucks and the Saints. The only thing here
that's your primetime game.
Bengals and Giants are Sunday night.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Bucks and the Saints. After the hot start, the Saints they're in a must-win too. They can't lose 4 straight after starting the season. There, Buccaneers are playing well. Buccaneers off the loss in the division. It's really a must-win game. That's a big game in the NFC South. It's a must-win for both teams there. Steelers at the Raiders. Steelers -3. We didn't even talk about this the other day because we got going sideways. This Devontae Adams deal is getting weird. The Steelers are in the market. A trade's got to happen. I was joking. I said, I wonder if they'll play the Steelers and then he'll just take the team plane back with the Steelers back to Pittsburgh because they're one of the teams in discussion. But the Chiefs, somebody's going to make a trade for Devontae. They're looking for a second-round pick plus extras on that. The NFL game of the week, the 3:30 game, is the Lions, which is going to be a good game. The Lions are 3.5-point favorites at Dallas.
Oh, that's a good game.
If Parsons is not back, I would take the Lions here. It's going to depend defensively on some injuries there for the Cowboys. They're so beat up. The Cowboys are having a tough time stopping the run because they're so beat up on defense. If there's the injury stick, I would take the Lions there. And then the before-mentioned Cincinnati Bengals are in trouble, but they are playing at New York Giants on Sunday Night Football, which Neal, and the Burrow family will probably be the only people watching this game. The Bengals are 3.5-point favorites at the Giants. And then our Monday night game is the Bills -2.5 at the Jets. Going to get to Neal's stuff and kind of echo what he said earlier before he gets to this stuff. I want to make sure we talked about it a little bit last week. Nobody's really talking about it and getting the coverage. We talked obviously a little bit about the start of the show. Hurricane Milton, please be smart. If you're in the Tampa area or South Florida, please be smart because the eastern side is going to be the South Florida side of that. We got some coaches from Cardinal Gibbons that listen to our show every week, the big high school down there, big fans of the show. Text with one of them earlier. Please be safe. My good friend Todd Denor at Quick Cut, the CEO, they're right in the bullseye. So please, if don't stay. If you can get out, get out. It's not worth it. I understand there is and I think Grind's in the chat. You know exactly where I'm going with this. There's a mindset of, I guess, residents that grew up on the coast that it's like a toughness thing,
Well, and not even, I didn't grow up and I hated to leave because your house is there. Your stuff is there. You want to be there if something happens to it.
Yeah.
It's that. And you just, I don't know.
I turned into that person, right? It's like my first one was Hurricane Ivan. I left my house in Mobile to go to Ivan. And then I came back. And then when Ivan hit, because Ivan hit in the Gulf Shores area, I guess east of Gulf Shores, and it really didn't do anything to my house. And then Katrina hits way, further away, but I was on the eastern side. Katrina jacked our stuff up, right? And so you got an appreciation for it. But please, 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 please get out, be safe. I'm saying prayers for you, thinking about you. Just want to let y'all know that you're not forgotten on this show. We're always going to talk about you, and you're not going to be forgotten on this media outlet.
Quick shout out to my girl Bess, Carson. They're out right now having a rain.
Let's go.
Looks like Carson's having a tropical. I can't tell. I can't see the picture well enough.
Send it to me.
I'll pull it up here. I'll be able to tell you.
Is it black cam?
Yeah, it's one of the.
It's the leaded one.
It's one of the leaded ones. Let's see. I can do it here. Yeah, Carson's having the tropical storm.
Okay.
And looks like Bess is having the sour gummy worm.
Oh, okay.
Getting ready for their day.
Let's go. Getting right.
That's how you get right there.
That will get your mind right.
That will get your mind completely locked in and focused.
Let's go.
What else you can have if you're getting your mind locked in and focused?
Are they in the drive-thru right now?
They're not, but they should be. Because I know a lot of you have had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce. You've had them. I get it. But the question is, and this is a burning question, this is a question that you need to answer a lot over the next 28 days and beyond, frankly. Have you had them covered in sauce? Because Wendy's new saucy nugs, they take the crispy and spicy nugs you love. They turn them up to 11. 11! You get to choose between flavors like buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm. And if you're a real heat seeker, if you just feel like today's the day that you just want to absolutely throw conventional wisdom out the window and just let the fates take you where they take you, you need to try spicy ghost pepper. And you can only do that on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. I dare you. Everyone dares you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and prepare to nug like you have absolutely never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Love it. All right, so give me some breaking news. We got like 2 minutes.
Our girl's having a day. According to the Daily Mail.
Hey, by the way, we need to say this episode is brought to you by the Biden-Harris administration. I'm going to add to your conspiracy theory here. Do you know on the show yesterday, when you and I and AJ were talking about Tim Walz' 4-4 defense, do you know that YouTube cut out about 2 minutes of our podcast yesterday?
No way.
Yes. I had to go back to listen.
You're kidding.
No, I'm being dead serious.
About his football coaching?
So we said the word Tim Walz. We were talking about.
Yeah.
As soon as we said the word Tim Walz, YouTube cut out about 2 minutes. And you got a word Tim Walz later, but it cut out like in the 44-minute mark of our show yesterday.
Wow.
It was about 2 minutes that was cut out of this. It went from 44 on YouTube straight to like 46. It jumped.
Well, today, according to the Daily Mail, some of the second gentleman's former colleagues have come forward. They say that he has refused to promote women who didn't flirt with him and would brag about yelling at women. The former second gentleman who once impregnated his nanny and has also been accused of assaulting his girlfriend was a known misogynist as the managing director at Venable in L.A., according to the Daily Mail. He would scream at women, yell expletives at them, and then brag about it with his male colleagues. A staffer is quoted as saying, what's worse was he bragged about it to the management at Venable, and they were aghast. He's in blank hole. He told them how he put her in her place. A misogynist, that's who does that. In the lawsuit, one of the female staffers, a former legal secretary named Marjan Rabi. In the lawsuit, she says that Imhoff had a secretary in her 20s referred to as Katya, Katya, who was unqualified but was hired because she was young, attractive, and friendly with the powerful men in the office. And there's a picture of Katya that's included in the photo. He's the new picture of masculinity.
Grind in the Cooper Chevrolet chat says they're pushing. CNN is now pushing for a second debate. Are they going to try to Biden? Are they just what? I'm so confused.
No, I think what's happening. All seriousness for a minute.
Yeah, I'm actually confused.
Look, I think what's happening. This is where we're close enough now. The 28 days thing.
Yeah.
The polls don't really matter to the campaigns. The campaigns are now leaning on their internal polling, which may or may not be right.
Right.
But they spend a lot of money to hire their own polling data,
right?
Because you're down to a finite number of days. Okay, so it's not even about money anymore. This is what's really fascinating. You want to know what the campaigns think? You get to see it with your own two eyes in the last few weeks, because you only have a certain number of days.
28 days.
Yeah, so it's like, to put it in sports terms, maybe you've got 5 days of prep before a game.
Yeah.
If you're worried about special teams, you're going to start putting in some special teams periods in practice, right? You're going to start working on the stuff that's got you concerned, right? If you're not worried about something, like, this is not the time that you're getting your threes a lot of reps, right? We will deal with that another day. This is not now, right? You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You don't have an endless amount of time. So if you see a campaign going to the same state over and over and over, it's one of two things. They either think, oh, shit, we have a chance to win this state. We didn't think we did. Let's go for it. Or, ooh, we're playing defense. Our internals tell us this is not good. And so they start watching their internal polling that they're paying for and going, like in her case, in Harris's case, for example. I'll do one for both. Something to watch for. If you see Harris start running to Pennsylvania and Pennsylvania's not a best example. Wisconsin and Michigan. If you see her running to Wisconsin and Michigan a lot, she's scared that that's going south. And they know that if they were to lose those states, this is not about Trump, Harris. To me, this is fascinating. I love politics, this part of it. If you see Trump suddenly running to Georgia and Florida and North Carolina and those states a lot, you know that they think, oh, shit, those states are in play. If you see Trump running to, on the flip side, if you see Trump running to Michigan and Wisconsin a bunch, his internals are telling him the same thing that her internals are telling her, and that's, oh, this state that we thought would go blue is suddenly purple, and we've got a chance to turn it red. And he knows if he wins those states, it's night-night. It's over. It's done. And so that's why this is here late in the game. You don't even really have to pay attention to anything other than where do they go, what media do they do, and the fact that she went from doing a Biden almost styled campaign where there was no interviews to I'll talk to anyone and everyone. It tells you that their internals are saying people don't know who you are. They don't know what you're for. You're going to have to talk.
I'm with you. I guess before you even mentioned that about the View and all that stuff when we started the show, I don't know. I noticed 2 or 3 days ago that it seemed like all of a sudden the networks, just like they did on Joe Biden after the debate, the networks have started to, the ones that have always protected right. that side, that you would look and go, oh, you know what? You're getting liberal on this side, have all of a sudden started almost turning on them or getting tougher in the questioning.
Her problem is this.
Is that protecting their investment moving forward if they don't win?
Yeah, a little bit.
Hedging their bet a little bit?
Well, I mean, look, if you're CNN, you're running a business. And November the 6th, it was going to roll around. It's going to be a Wednesday morning, and the election will either be over or hotly contested, but the ballots will be closed.
Right.
All bullshit jokes aside, right?
Yeah.
And so at some point, history says, on the 6th, the 7th, they're going to declare a victor. The other side's going to bitch and call it rigged and all that stuff, but it's going to be over. And if you're CNN or any network, you've got to be thinking about your future. And your future is one of two things. It's either a Harris presidency where you're going to have to cover her as a legitimate president, right? Where you're going to have to start asking her some legitimate questions here and there because the American people are going to want to demand it when stuff happens, and things will happen. The world continues marching on. Or you're going to have to deal with another Trump presidency where if you completely expose yourself as being completely biased. And now Trump is showing, rightly or wrongly, and I'm not sure which, I go back and forth. Hey, I'm not going to deal with you people anymore. He didn't do the 60 Minutes thing.
Yeah. I knew he declined or something.
Yeah, he just said no because he felt like 4 years ago, Leslie Stahl was unfair to him. And it was kind of unfair to him. It was not professionally done. And it put pressure on CBS when Harris agreed to do the interview. Whitaker was like, okay, I'm going to ask hard questions. And he did, to his credit. And what's happening, I think, it's just my opinion. No one else has said this to me. I really haven't had a chance to follow it because I've been busy with football. But I think what's happened is when the election was about Trump, it favored her. Because he's so unlikable to half the populace.
Yeah.
But suddenly the election, as we get closer and closer, is becoming about her and less about him. People know him. You kind of either feel one way or you feel the other, but there's not a lot of there aren't a lot of people out there that go, I just don't know anything. I don't really know much about this Trump guy.
No.
You know what I mean?
He's pretty.
I mean,
I do feel this, and that's the only thing I've been at this point for a while. I feel as a country, whether you're Democrat or Republican, I feel like the one side is voting more against a candidate. I think just my personal opinion, I feel like most people are voting against someone more than they are voting for someone.
Yeah, there's some polling data that's out there where they talk to business people, like big business people, and they just don't view her seriously. They don't think she's ready. I'm not saying she's not. I don't know, but she's suddenly having to go address that. What's happened is this thing's become about her, and the more it becomes about her, the more that her numbers fall. And so, I'm sure she desperately wants another debate because in her internals probably tell her that she's not doing well, needs to do better, that this thing went from having a lead to Vance got the better of Walz in the VP debate. And so there's some of that movement. The Helene stuff has hurt her. It has.
Yeah.
And now you've got, they probably would love to have another debate because she kind of won the first debate in the eyes of most people. And I'm sure they'd love a debate where he would get up there and be a caustic asshole and call her names and stuff like that and remind some people that, I'll remember this guy, right? And he's probably smart to go, nope, right now you're struggling and I'm not about to throw you a life raft.
Yeah. I mean, it's freaking wild, dog.
Oh, it's fascinating. I'm always surprised by the people who don't find this stuff interesting. It's okay. I mean, sometimes those are the happiest people in the world who are just utterly oblivious, but I'm always surprised by it. All right. We'll wrap it up there. Thanks to everybody for being with us. We'll be back on Thursday. We'll make our picks on
Make it rain.
Make it rain. I've got a special guest coming in to pick for me
in studio, right?
He will be in studio. This will be fascinating. It will. I don't know. I have no idea where this goes. No clue. I know there's been preparation, but I can't even imagine the level of lack of understanding that's going on.
Dog. It's, by the way, I meant to text you. You were doing the show. So you see, I knew you were doing the show, so I didn't text you. I saw a thread on social media this morning. It was from the Talladega Super Speedway, like their deal. They have a whole thread of things that they're cleaning up, things that were left at the track. It's like leather couches, TVs, and I guess somebody who worked for the Atlanta Falcons was there. And in the middle of the field,
playbook,
they left a Bijan Robinson jersey, just nice, folded up in the middle of the field with a note card because I knew they would pick it up. It's like, enjoyed it, had a great weekend. Thank you, Tyler.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Just stuff everywhere. They found beds. Somebody was still camping. There was a tent still up, Scoops. So all kinds of stuff there. So, yeah, be good.
All right. We'll be back with you on Thursday. For Tyler, I'm Neal. Take care.